right, let's jump straight into this explainer and honestly, initiate a complete paradigm shift in how you view money. For way too long, we've basically been taught that financial success is just one giant math test, right? We're told it's all about complex formulas, perfectly balanced spreadsheets, and knowing the exact magical moment to buy or sell. But today, we're throwing out that rigid, cold logic. Instead, we're going to focus on mastering your own behavior, keeping your ego in check, and understanding the absolute, sheer power of time. Because as you'll see, lasting wealth isn't really about what you know. It's literally all about how you behave. To distill these timeless lessons, we're breaking down your new behavioral blueprint into 5 core pillars. We'll start with finance as a soft skill, move into the duality of luck and risk, tackle time and survival, uncover the illusion of wealth, and finally wrap up with freedom and finding enough. Okay, let's kick things off with pillar 1, finance is a soft skill and why behavior always beats the spreadsheets. We've got to bust a major myth right out of the gate here. The idea that financial success requires a genius IQ. We so often treat finance like it's this hard science, driven entirely by algorithms and unbreakable rules. But in reality, it's a soft skill. The whole thing is deeply shaped by psychology, your personal history, and your ego. Think about it like this. Someone who grew up during a massive stock market crash is going to view risk entirely differently than someone who only ever experienced a 20-year economic boom. What looks completely crazy to one person makes perfect logical sense to someone else based on what they've actually lived through. Nobody's crazy. We're all just looking through totally different lenses. And since humans are highly emotional creatures, which we definitely are, aiming for absolute perfect mathematical rationality often just completely fails us. Let's say an algorithm tells you to invest every single penny in a wildly volatile market because, hey, it's mathematically optimal. But if that decision causes you to lie awake losing sleep every single night, you know what's going to happen? You're eventually going to panic and you'll sell at the exact worst possible time. Actually, scratch the spreadsheet. It is far better to be reasonable than perfectly rational. A reasonable strategy that gives you peace of mind, the one that passes this sleep at night test, is the only one you'll actually stick with when things inevitably get tough. Moving right along to pillar 2, the duality of luck and risk. Now, this one is a real slice of humble pie when it comes to our perspective on financial outcomes. Luck and risk are essentially sibling forces. They are incredibly powerful, and they exist almost entirely outside of your individual control. Yet they dictate financial outcomes just as much as hard work does. It's so easy for us to look at a successful billionaire and assume, wow, their wealth is 100% the result of their sheer hustle and brilliance. And on the flip side, we look at a bankruptcy and assume it was pure laziness. But you should never, ever judge an extreme financial outcome by looking at a single individual. Life is just full of wild fortune and uncertainty that no spreadsheet could ever possibly model. You can see this vividly in the story of Bill Gates and his childhood best friend, Kent Evans. Look, Bill Gates is undeniably brilliant and hardworking, for sure. But he also experienced a literal 1 in a million stroke of luck. He attended one of the only high schools in the entire world that actually had a computer back in 1968. That luck gave him a massive head start. Now, his best friend, Kent Evans, was just as smart and shared that exact same passion for computing. But Kent experienced the ultimate risk. He tragically died in a mountaineering accident before he had ever had the chance to graduate or start a company with Bill. They were opposite sides of the exact same coin. When you truly recognize that luck and risk are siblings, you become much more humble about your own successes and, honestly, a lot more forgiving of your failures. All right, pillar 3, time, compounding, and survival, the long game. We have to fundamentally shift our focus away from those dramatic, short-term actions and get-rich-quick schemes and lean into the quiet, relentless power of endurance. Because our human brains are wired for linear thinking, we genuinely struggle to wrap our heads around exponential compounding. Just look at Warren Buffett's net worth. We constantly celebrate him as this absolute genius stock picker, but that completely misses the point. Out of all his vast wealth, get this, over 95% of it was accumulated after his 65th birthday. His true secret wasn't just brilliance. It was the fact that he started investing at age 10 and survived in the market for over 3/4 of a century. Time is, without a doubt, the most powerful variable in the entire wealth generation equation. But here's the catch. To let time do its magic, you have to survive. And there is a fascinating contradiction here. The skills required to get wealthy are pretty much the exact opposite of the skills required to stay wealthy. Getting wealthy requires huge optimism, taking bold risks, really putting yourself out there. But staying wealthy, that requires frugality, a healthy dose of paranoia, and the humility to accept that past success doesn't guarantee a thing for tomorrow. Getting money is one thing, keeping it from slipping right through your fingers is a totally different game. A massive part of staying wealthy is reframing how you view market crashes and downturns. Most people quit investing entirely because they view a market drop as a fine, like a penalty for doing something wrong. But you need to see volatility as a fee. It is simply the price of admission for higher returns. It's exactly like buying a ticket to an amusement park. If you leave a massive margin of error in your finances, you can actually be wrong half the time and still win. Because in finance, the extremes, the tails, drive everything. A tiny fraction of your decisions will generate the vast majority of your total returns, as long as you pay the fee and just stay in your seat. Let's move into Pillar 4, the illusion of true wealth. Let's take a hard look at the highly visible traps that modern capitalism sets for our egos. I want you to ask yourself, honestly, what runs through your head when you see flashy luxury out on the street? When a sleek, loudly revving $200,000 supercar pulls up to the stoplight right next to you, who are you actually admiring? The paradox here is that you aren't admiring the driver at all. You probably didn't even look at their face. You're just picturing yourself in the driver's seat, imagining how cool people would think you are if you owned it. And spoiler alert, if you did own it, everyone else would just be looking at the car, ignoring you too. This perfectly proves that spending money to show people how much money you have is literally the absolute fastest way to have less of it. So we have to clearly separate the illusion from the reality by defining the difference between being rich and having wealth. Being rich is loud. It's a measure of current income, visible luxury, massive houses, brand new cars. But true wealth is completely hidden. It's the unspent money. It's the savings accounts and the unliquidated investments quietly compounding in the background. You see the fancy car. You don't see the massive auto loan or the empty bank account behind it. Real wealth provides flexibility, while the illusion of wealth just gives you a fleeting bump in status.
And finally, Pillar 5, freedom and finding enough.
This brings us to the ultimate, big-picture philosophical purpose behind why we even bother building a healthy relationship with money. Society is always telling us we need a specific goal to save money, right? A down payment for a house, a new car, a vacation. But listen to me, you don't need a specific excuse to save. Saving consistently, just for the sheer sake of saving, creates this invisible margin of safety. It prepares you for the unexpected surprises life is inevitably going to throw at you, rather than vainly trying to predict them. More than anything, it provides you with ultimate flexibility. When an amazing opportunity pops up or a sudden emergency strikes, your savings mean you get to dictate the terms, not someone else. But to actually build those savings, you've got to conquer a massive psychological trap. In a world that capitalism has brilliantly designed to generate endless envy, the absolute hardest financial skill you must master is getting the goalpost to stop moving. If you continually risk what you have and need just to get what you don't have and don't need, you are eventually going to lose. You have to realize when you finally have enough. Contentment and gratitude are far, far more powerful wealth-building tools than greed could ever be. And that brings us to the absolute core truth of this entire explainer. Ultimately, money is not a scorecard for status. It is a tool. The highest dividend, the absolute best return on investment that money can ever pay you, is the ability to control your time. True wealth is waking up every single morning and being able to say, I can do whatever I want today. It's the flexibility to walk away from a toxic job or to take care of a sick family member without panicking and to just live life entirely on your own terms. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final vital thought to challenge your financial behavior moving forward. Take a really close look at your habits. Look at your spending and ask yourself honestly, are you building wealth just to buy more things? Or are you building wealth to buy back your life? Master your behavior, give it time, and let true wealth start working for you.